what the deal is.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Make it clear that the views expressed by our host are not considered the official stance of MBR views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to Beyond the Headlines with hosts MJ and Terry. Each week we put today's news into perspective. Tune in Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, X, YouTube, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, or anywhere you get your podcasts. MBR, giving veterans a voice.
That's cool music. Welcome, H. Welcome, MJ. You're on Beyond the Headlines, Military Broadcast Radio, and we're here to talk about today's headlines and put them all into perspective. And I don't know who wants to go first tonight. There's so much going on. So it's like, where do we start?
Pick your headline, people. Pick whatever. They're not hard to find these days.
They are not.
That's kind of writing itself.
Right? Yeah, the whole show is a headline. One big long headline. Oh my goodness.
So I guess I can start a little bit.
Okay.
Where you will run down like a plot. It's not gonna be funny, but we can kind of run down a plot summary of what has happened through this week. So first of all, it started when not Yugoslavia, but it started when Ukraine. Look, I'm messing up countries. I should be a politician. So we're looking at Ukraine, and Ukraine decides, you know what? We're going to be David. They're going to be Goliath. We're going to go ahead and bomb the shit out of them. So, they bomb the shit out of them. They're like, woo, happy, we won the war kind of thing. They kind of made history with the drone strike. And then Russia, like I was telling you guys, eventually, which it was yesterday, and throughout this weekend, Russia is going to respond. People don't poke people and then they just walk away. When people poke people, that person has to have control. That person has to have revenge. It's just how it is. And we need to quit thinking that the people that are in office right now, that they're for the country, because they're not for the country. Do you know what they're for? It's a perfect word. They are there for prestige. That's it. They don't care about you. They care about what's going on. Like, Trump got that plane and stuff. And, the thing about it is, like, Trump wasn't thinking of the U.S. when he got the plane. He was thinking about, like, when he got out, when he leaves the White House, he's going to create a Trump library. Like I said, it's all about prestige. And until we start voting for people that have character and not a popularity contest, our country is always going to run into the struggles that we're running into now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, because for some that enter public office, it's about what they can get for themselves and the visibility they can get for themselves and the amount of people that will be watching, and they want the praise and the glory for themselves. It's not really about the people, and that's unfortunate because that really shouldn't be how politics is. Politics is for the people, and you're doing the people's will and the people's bidding. Whatever you've said you do that the people voted you in for, that's what you should be doing. Trump is doing some of that. Some of the other politicians are doing that, but are they doing everything we want? No, absolutely not. They're not. They're creating kind of a rift between parties and a rift between just be in the party itself. So it's quite difficult, I think.
Well, if I could step in,
Yes.
Yes.
I have a little tiny of an inside source, just a little
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
So my little inside source had said, when I asked about the plane, because I was like, do we need a new Trump one? Is that it? And I kind of was judgy, and I didn't like it. So that plane is not Trump's. That plane is because Air Force One is about 20 years old.
Okay.
And it's out of date. And it's the security measures, everything is out of date. They can't, the problem is Boeing is so backed up. So they can't get one of them made in the United States because all the parts of Boeing are overseas.
Right.
So the prince said, not a problem. And that is how the United States got that little tidbit of information of the airplane without judgment. It does not go with Trump. It stays as Air Force One, and it stays with the DOD.
Okay. So I was misinformed because when they had the White House brief, they were talking about whichever plane they're talking about. Okay, let me say this: whichever plane they're talking about, but they were talking about whichever plane it's going into the Trump library. I didn't even know there was a Trump library. Now we're going to create. Is there an Obama library too?
Yeah, and there's a Clinton library. They all get a library.
Every president has a library of their achievements and the
Learn something
documents.
new every day.
Yeah, the Bush Library is here in Texas.
Yeah. So
I know about the Bush Library.
Yeah, every
Clinton's
president
is in
Bush,
Arkansas.
and an art center. Bush has.
Okay.
Yeah, but every president gets a library because it's the history of what they got done in their term. That's what it was originally for. Anywho, so
one of the units I belonged to actually stored Bush's stuff until the library was created because that was the closest DOD unit that had space to accommodate some of the things, and so they actually kept them for them until the library was created.
Yeah. Now, I truly believe in my heart and my soul that the people voted on a platform. Now, whether they thought that platform through or not, that is in the problem of the people. And those people who voted, who want to bitch now and play the victim, shame on you. I'm going to say it. Shame on you. Because you voted for him to do the job. You didn't tell him how to do the job. So he's doing the job the best way that he knows how to do the job, which is business, art of the deal. And he's using his political science cabinet members that he picked in order to remove, and we all know on both sides, there is an abundance of fraud and just complete, utter disgust on both sides.
Yeah.
He's going to clean it up. As a business major myself, I can see what he's doing with an art of the deal, with the tariffs, with the trade deal. Trade deals, let me tell you, trade deals take months to work out. And if anybody tells you different, I'm going to sit here and tell you I've done trade deals my whole life in different countries because of being in the fishing and hunting, building lodges.
Months. It takes them at least 90 days to get the paperwork figured out on AT&T and Verizon on your wireless carriers, I agree I agree with you on that.
But I don't want I am no part of that judgment and ego, because if I get angry about something, or I feel that I've been pushed, or I feel that I've been frauded, or I feel that any other way, shape, or form, that warrior inside of this beautiful spiritual body will come out. And that one's going to come out because I'm fighting to flip for positive. I'm fighting to flip for balance, and I'm fighting to flip for alignment. Right. And I don't want to go down the path of man's conscious belief systems that are constantly ridiculing something that you asked for. I don't want to, I can't, neither side, even with Biden. If the American people want it, we're in a democracy. You can bitch, moan, and groan all you want, but it's a democracy. And that's the civilians' problem. They can't see it. But as a commander in chief, and what I was born and bred to be, a warrior to fight, that commander in chief is going to pull my strings. If I don't think the commander in chief is stable, I'm pulling out. But it has nothing to do with political science, and everybody's a political science major every time we have these elections anymore. And the only reason everyone's that type of thing is because there's so much crap on social media and platforms that people talk utter garbage. And look how many news stations bit the dust. I mean, they're falling apart. Look at that.
It's a White House gossip.
There you go. What? And you got some.
Yes,
and see,
I do.
They hid that one.
Yeah.
I even go, wait, is that true? And I couldn't get my little contact to find. I couldn't find my little in-source contact.
Like I've always said, with the current president, like I have no problem with what he's doing. Do I agree with how he's doing it? No. Okay. Do I agree what he's doing? Yes, but how? It's like he's forcing the pin down their throat. You don't want to force the pin down your throat. You want to slowly emerge. You want to talk them into it. Get on the ground with them, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because he's just forcing it right now.
Yeah, but he's a controller narcissist. I mean, that's what he is. And he's damn good at business.
And the only thing that popped up a red flag for me was whatever the story is, the plane. Somewhere, I don't know, but watch. I've watched enough WWE, damn it. Watch somewhere, some way in the future, in a couple of weeks, we're going to feel the pain of what that plane was loaned to him for.
Accepting the gift, yeah. We might find out the strings that are attached to it, even though there's no strings attached. There's always strings attached. It doesn't matter if they say,
it was
completely free.
No, he was okay. I'm gonna have to pull the White House doc, and then because he went over to Saudi because he couldn't get anywhere with Ukraine, and there are certain minerals that we need in order for our businesses to actually be a business, right? And if we can't, that's why they opened up all the steel mills in Pennsylvania. Biden shut them all down, and we were buying our steel overseas. Well, guess where we were buying our steel?
China.
Yeah. So guess who else has steel? Saudi. So there's places that have, and we can barter power. So I can't be on that bandwagon either, but I have to balance it. Yeah. There's something else that was in that deal, but I know he knew that what is it? Air Force One. It has to be updated. And if he so chooses that that's one of the things he takes, then so be it. Art of the deal. He made the deal.
Right.
He made the deal. But from what I understand, Trump One is superior to Air Force One in his standard of liking of luxury. So it would be something that if the Democrats got back in office and was hammering, removing everything, I think at that moment he would say, all right, he's that spiteful.
And Amber, so I'm gonna answer it, but Amber does bring up a good point. She says we need to be self-sufficient. That's true, but the only problem is that we all can agree that if we was ever put in a position like the president, we would be eating that shit up too. So we're dealing with egos, we're dealing with prestige, we're dealing with what normal, like really, really rich people, millionaires do is it's kind of like skiing. They like going up skiing the mountain, bragging about all the money that they make, and then making a specula of what I mean. Look at the presidential parade that's coming in. All the U.S. Army tanks and stuff that they shipped in from the train. Cash Patel is doing a good job. I don't really know a whole lot about Cash Patel, but
he was service to others his whole life, his whole family. Big background of police, FBI, soldier, good guy. Yeah, I'm with you. He is. But okay, but wait a minute. President's birthday also falls on, what was the day, the 13th or something? It falls on a national something day. I just did that thing today.
Yeah, it's supposed to February 5th.
No, because everybody's making a big deal because he said it's his birthday, but it's not, because that day, and he did it he brought in all the military equipment. I remember that. I remember because I was like, wow, look at some of these new tanks and look at some of these new things that I have never seen.
June 14th.
There. That's Flag Day.
June 14th. And it's being reported all over TikTok right now that there's supposed to be something big happening on June 15th and June 14th. I've advised all my DJs and all my hosts just to be, I don't want to say ready, but just be vigilant, keep your eyes open, your ears open, don't be complacent. I can tell you, whenever something happens, it's very quiet before it happens. So if nobody's around and it's really quiet, walk the other direction. That's all I can say about that. But they're reporting something like a mass protest happens on the 14th or 15th. Today there was I mean I can play it, but a reporter was reporting on the news, and it's real because I got it confirmed. They're protesting today, and one of the reporters got shot with one of the rubber bullets.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So it's real. We're not going to be able to fix anything. It's not doom and gloom. Like Trump did say, sometimes you just got to let people fight it out. And I mean, that's exactly right. Sometimes you do have to and listen, I don't know. When people get in a fight, you need to just let them fight it out, because eventually if they don't get out of their system, it's never going to be solved. It's never going to be solved. But that's just my opinion. What are you guys' opinions about that? Because on the next hour, I'll talk about that, and we're supposed to go on break, but I've been running my mouth, so go ahead.
How about we go on break, and then we could tag in.
Yeah, let's do that. So let's play Ryan Spencer, Make 22-0 again.
Another regular day, nobody knows. It's that time, he's coming home to them from a foreign land. He pulls up, his mama cries, looks at daddy with tears in his eyes and says, nothing feels better than this. Couple of months go by and no one sees. Something just ain't right, all he wants is peace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free and put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again. He gets help, but he still feels off. Sees an ad on the TV about a dog batting said, "This is a man's best friend." Whoa, so he goes one day and he picks it up. Never thought a dog could bring so much love and put a smile on his face. But he's finally found a saving grace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again. Whoa, whoa. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines on Military Broadcast Radio, where we're giving veterans a voice and we're putting today's news into perspective.
I like that music, Joel.
I do. That's
Thank
good.
you.
Ran, guys.
I have to give a huge shout out to Man Talk 133rd because I stole it from them. So shout out.
Thank you, Man Talk. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mentor.
Oh my gosh. So what was our topic again?
Well, we were talking about, kind of complaining with how our government was doing stuff or going about the system. And there's a lot of people that, they're upset. They think it's what they wanted, but they're finding real quick that it's not what they wanted. And, like I said, everything I totally are on board with. I just don't like how it's went about. But the plane, the Qatar plane, yeah, I can't buy into that. Now I can flip it, and when I flip it, that means I just keep my mouth shut. But I can flip it, because honestly, it's kind of like a professional football team. All right, like the Denver Broncos, whenever they pay something, a bunch of money, and then people gripe about it, it's like, it's not coming out of my paycheck. I don't give a shit. You know, I don't know why everybody is so worried about it. And like, does our tax dollars pay for everything? You know, it's like, I don't know how it is around your neck of the woods, but while my dad was here visiting, we were walking, and one thing that we noticed was a lot of yards, especially like the city. The grass is growing big. I mean, it looks like Vietnam. It's going big, you know? So could that be because businesses can't afford to do, the government can't pay or can't afford somebody to come and do the grass? Or is that because, right now, maybe the city of Denver or here in Colorado, parts of it, regions of it, maybe they're going through some trauma? Because I know that I told my dad, and I only know this from experience, but you can tell somebody that's going through something. And it's not judging. It's, that they're going through something when their yard is being let go. Okay.
It's an awareness.
It's an awareness. Exactly. Kind of like if you go to somebody's house and, you don't know if they're there, but the car is there. You know what? If you put their hand over the hood to see if it's warm, that, it takes around 18 hours for a car to officially like cool down. You'll be able to feel the warmness if that vehicle hasn't been parked for more than, 12 hours. So I think something's going on with our government. I don't think it's good. I think we put people in positions that really don't know how to do the positions.
Okay, but you say stuff like that. So who are you talking about? For instance,
I don't know yet.
Which person is not doing their job?
I don't know that. It's one of those things where you don't know. You have to kind of let it play out. I mean, the fraud and all that stuff, it's not going to be fixed overnight.
Well, honey, I unfortunately, that auto pen and the inflation that is just now catching up from the last 4 years. We were already in destitute. So if we had a clandestine or this huge thing that as soon as he takes office, things are going to get better, it was impossible at 36 trillion in debt. That was an impossible.
Well, I know that, MJ.
No,
you
but
know that, MJ.
I understand, but I'm a little discerned because there is so much free will. When we ask somebody, okay, I'm going to give you a for instance.
Okay.
Today, I have free will to speak on my own podcast, right? I have my own free will. Somebody else took it upon themselves to report me for, I don't even know what, something about guns. Okay, that was my second mark. So you see the free will that somebody else had to be mean, to be cruel, to make that kind of suggestion, which is not even it's on my station, but it's actually NBR. So who am I to blame NBR CEO because of that? Or is it the free will of those? There was no intent to harm anybody or to have a disbelief, but that has where the egotisms and judgments have got to. Questioning every single person's movement instead of honoring and trust the decisions, because we honored and trust the decisions that we already made. And that's my flip. That is my gratitude of thank you for the catalysts who showed up. Thank you for the lessons that you are imposing upon me. And thank you for letting me be aware with my own consciousness. And now I can make it a positive one, because if I sit here and play the martyr or the victim, I'll be depressed, suicidal with PTSD recurrences. And that's not who I am. No more. I've gotten out of that. But that road is leading down. So I can't allow myself, and nor should anybody who is listening to this, take your mind off of it. You all have hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
Go get your hobby. Go fishing. Yeah. It's beautiful weather across the nation right now. Some people have a little bit of rain, but after the rain will stop. But if we keep going down and making this cookie cutter and making that dough thicker, it's going to lead to a rabbit hole, to a hamster wheel, and it's going to go this way, and the food's on the other side of the wheel, and you're not going to get out, and you're going to be depressed. You're going to be sad.
Yeah.
Allow and have faith. God, Father, Mother, Father, God, I have faith that you're going to work this out to the highest balanced, right decision for all.
Well, that's all we can do.
Amen. And
I
so
mean,
when we start trying to point fingers like people in the media are doing, it's not. We got to flip that. We have to flip that. This is why it's beyond the headlines, because we're not visually seeing. Do you know how many times I heard today, because I knew I was doing this show, so obviously I get online and I figure out what's going on, and there's like a bajillion different things, and I was like, oh my God. Right. I'm with the bears, deer, and turkey. This is my life right now. I just sit in the forest. So for me, that is excruciating and painful. However, if I need to know something, I pick up my phone and I have a nice source, and I can say, hey, can you just help me out here? What is happening? Especially if my own husband gets all like jittery and riled up in it. MJ has to figure out what's going on. Right. And it is just that. He is still wrapped up in that. He is still wrapped up, and I constantly turn and twist it on him as well. So I don't want anybody to think out there, and I'm not nuts. I don't prefer to worry about something that hasn't happened, because you're throwing the energy towards it. And that's how we think as energists and spiritualists. And that's exactly who I am, or I've become. I can't dwart that negative energy. I can only say, please find peace in your heart. Please stop. And like the rioters, I push healing energy to stop the broken hearts that started it. Please stop. And that's the warrior I am now. That's the warrior I choose to be. Sorry. That's just another way. I can't. That PTSD was the hardest thing with the addictions that I had to go through. That nicotine addiction, to have a peace of mind, I don't want that back. So if I pay attention to every stupid thing that is happening around the world because of egos and judgments, which I constantly talk about as man's egos and judgments, where they came from. It's a pattern. So Jewel, you made a comment going, I see it again and again and again. That's called a pattern. So if this pattern is causing any of us, and I'm not saying Joel, but he made the word that it happened again and again. That's a trigger word, which means you're in a pattern. The United States of America is in a pattern. We hope to God, Father, Mother, God, that it stops with Trump. Hopefully the art of the deal that he's been preaching since he's been 30 years old, in the books and everything else, showing how to balance business and do these trade deals, will benefit us. Yep. It's going to hurt for a little bit. Why? Because it was already escalated out of control.
Yeah, it was.
So you can't expect in 3 months to have something done or turned around. Yes. They're dropping the veils and the curtains. I think the new moon, I told you, look out.
Right.
Because you're going to see who's behind the man behind the curtains. Be careful. Pay attention. Be aware. And Joel's awareness. Look at the grass. His awareness. Right? That is an awareness. Where's economy? Well, maybe I can get away, instead of paying somebody to do my grass once a week, I could get away with it maybe once a month. Because we either didn't have enough rain. I know Miami, they're in a massive, massive drought. My poor people down there are constantly saying, please send me your rain. And I'm like, I can't deal with any more rain. Like, it's just to the point of being ridiculous with the rain up here. And there's a lot of floods going on. But then the bottom of the nation is starving for water. But we all know that physics happen, right? And so the water comes from the north and it comes all the way down. So sooner or later, my poor friends in Miami and South Tip, Florida, and the Keys, they will get their water that they so badly need. Yeah, that's my take, Terri.
No, I mean, I agree. It's hard to balance everything, but you have to. And it's just like, I have friends on Facebook that post stuff very negatively about the whole ICE situation, the whole immigration situation. And it's an unfortunate situation all the way across the board. You're always going to have some tumultuous event happen. And, anytime law enforcement agency clashes with protesters, it's never very good. It really just isn't. Not for the protesters and not for the agents. It never seems to go well. So on either side of the fence, you're going to have people unhappy. You're going to have people hurt, unfortunately. And it is a very hard situation when you're plucking people out and you're deporting them. And I mean, that's what we said we wanted, but the reality of it is it affects families. It affects some of our own families, perhaps. So it's not like it's just an easy thing to watch or an easy thing for people to go through, because it gets very personal, very quick. So it's kind of hard to flip that at times, because you see the impacts and you see what's going on the national level, or in certain places where there may be a lot of people that are facing deportation. Then you're going to have these things in like LA, watching them riot, watching them burn things down, watching the 700 Marines get deployed to Los Angeles to protect the federal buildings and protect federal assets. I mean, that's scary for the people that are on the ground there in California, because they see the military coming. And I mean, would I be scared by it? No, I wouldn't. That's not me.
Behave out there, for God's sake.
Well, yes. I mean, just like in Portland, when they were protesting in Portland for the other things they were protesting.
They're going to do it again. In fact, the news reports here locally said about heading into the city because they're getting ready to protest like in LA and New York City.
Yeah.
I was like, well, isn't that nice? I was like, where? I find it extremely funny, and I can't nail it down, but I will, that Mr. Musk and Trump had their little bromance divorce. From what I understand,
it was a serious breakup. Yes.
Because he didn't get what he wanted, and he tried to be president. And even though he had all the money in the world, Trump didn't allow it.
Is that my cue to play as the White House turns?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Actually, let's take a break. Did we just take a break?
We probably need another one, and then we can come back and do that.
Okay, and then Joel has it.
Yeah,
Joel has the White.
So let's play "You Can't Spell Hero Without Her" by Cafe Anderson.
Signed up to fight for freedom. What a price you had to pay. Picture in her helmet, missing family every day. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. Some scars we'll never see. She will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. On that old dusty base with the meadows that shine, she's been to hell and back for the stars and the stripes. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane, and some scars we'll never see, and she will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. Yeah, yes. For the ones that didn't make it, we will pause and then we cry. We can still see their smile in every sunrise. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve, 'cause you can't spell hero without her, 'cause you can't spell hero without her.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
Welcome back. We have an empty chair.
Whoa.
Something happened to H.
The bathroom.
There he is.
There he is. Hey, you forgot your fly. Put your fly up, man.
Oh, shoot. It's scared of heights. It wasn't up. It's okay.
Aren't you in the Maha City?
Yes.
Or is that the club?
Whichever one. Oh my gosh. All right. It is time for the famous episode As the White House Turns.
What's up, America? Elon Musk and Scott Bessent got into a fist fight in the Oval Office. So apparently details are emerging that Elon Musk and Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, got into a physical altercation while in a heated meeting about the IRS's new head. So of course we have Elon Musk, the world's richest man, versus Scott Bessent, a former Soros employee. So they got into an argument apparently over who was going to be the head of the IRS, and they started insulting each other after Donald Trump chose Scott Bessent's choice over Elon Musk's. So apparently after a heated meeting about this, when they were leaving, they started shouting insults at one another like children, and that's when Elon Musk elbowed Scott Bessent in the fucking rib cage. And so that prompted Scott Bessent to punch Elon Musk in the fucking face. I didn't know Scott Bessent was such a fucking brawler. Holy shit. Elon Musk had a little more training, but let's take a look at these two men and find out what you're thinking about it. And I'd like to see a cage match later on, or at least an octagon meeting. So of course, here's Elon Musk. You see him with the black eye. So, of course, Elon Musk is 6'2", about 235, has a decent reach on him because he's been training for a while, but now Scott Bessent comes out towering at 6'4.5", about 225, and of course is a good old Southern South Carolina fighter. So I would love to see these two go at each other in the octagon, fucking definitely MMA style. That would be fantastic. So who do you think would win, Scott Bessent or Elon Musk? I'll tell you what, at first I thought Elon Musk, but now seeing this dude, he looks like he's got a wily demon in him. Maybe I got some money on this dude. Figuratively speaking, of course.
Brother, this guy stinks!
All right. So other than the cussing, I apologize for the cussing. I can't control what that creator said, but me and MJ went through and saw that there was a talk about a scuffle that happened in April. Now, my guess, I'm assuming that this fight was done a long time ago, and the Shiner was just treating at that time, get healing at that time. And I think it's very instinct to remember when I told you guys that when you go into like the White House or when you go in the Capitol, once those cameras come on, it's like they turn a switch. It's like acting. It's not like they're a real person, Yeah. And for one of the reporters to just come out of the blue, hey, what'd you do with that eye? Because nobody would have said anything, because the the camera wasn't really on him on that eye. Nobody really said anything except that reporter. So these reporters definitely know something that we don't because they're in the room. We're not. Yeah. So we I don't even know where to go with this, because I was always taught that, you know, the way you address things at home is in a professional manner, and it relays onward. But if we got people fighting in the White House, just like if you got people fighting on a football team, that's not good. It doesn't matter what party you're in. We have to come together. Both parties have to come together. And once again, I'll say it. I feel that who we have in office, it's a popularity contest, and it's not for character. And us as a society, I think we need to do better at drawing lines with character, and that starts with like town meetings, going to townships. Like you said, MJ. We sit here and gripe and stuff, but we're not trying to change anything. I mean, I can tell you, I haven't been to a town meeting ever, and I think that's where it starts is the town meeting. And until you get to know that person, you don't know if they're going to be good in office or not, because whatever they do at the bottom of the totem pole, it's not going to get any better as they go up. It's just going to get worse because they're going to have more power. They're going to have more responsibility. Yeah.
Well, Terry, do you want to take it before I step in?
Well, I mean, yeah, you do have to get involved in politics if you want to make a difference, and you want to ensure that your voice is heard. You need to vote. That's first and foremost, and then secondly, you need to be involved in whatever level of politics you can be. If you want to go to a town meeting, a city council meeting, and talk to your representatives, obviously do that, or go to any of the state meetings, or go to any of the federal meetings that you can make and kind of let your voice be told or heard if you're able to speak in that. Because truly, if we're just sitting on the sidelines and just watching it all play out, we're not part of the solution. We're just part of voyeurism for this from this instance where we're watching it play out and where they're acting badly and we're not saying anything, because I've never heard any of this. So how are these people just watching this and then not saying anything about it and not?
Well, I'd like to know how we didn't even hear about this until now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, like, why is people just viewing it and not reporting on it?
All heard about it. This wasn't, and I'm going to tell you why. You have your Batcave computer ready there, HR?
Okay.
Ask your little GPT or Barney and ask them who are the top 5 richest people of the world.
I could have told you that.
Who are they?
Well, the top richest person is that George Soros, and he has something to do with Blackwater, but I don't know exactly what it has to do with.
What did the guy in the video say about Soros? Elon Musk wanted to do something. He wanted to change something. And Bassett, who was directed by Soros, get the hint? Elon Musk and Soros battle money powers, battle the countries and the governments in these powers. They all do it in every single country. If you actually follow Elon Musk and you watch Soros, this is all.
Soros isn't even in the top 5.
Well, it's because he wasted all his money in the Democratic Party for the last. I don't know what else.
Top one, rank 1 is Elon Musk with 300. This says it's negative. I don't think that's negative. 324 billion. Number 2 is Mark Zuckerberg, which that's going to go down a little bit because he's being sued for $109 million from M&M right now. Mark Zuckerberg comes in at 216 billion. And Jeff Bezos comes in at 215 to 220B. His ship must have been went down when he had to buy that new ship or repair that bridge that he wanted to go under. Larry Ellison, 192 billion. I have no idea who that is. And then Warren Buffett, which I'm guaranteeing that that's not the singer, but Warren Buffett is $54 billion.
So you wonder who controls everything? Right there. So for Bassett to not even be Republican Party, controlled through Soros of the IRS funding, and Elon Musk is Doge, fighting to try to get his Doge team in there, has been a riff since February. It's been going on since February. They have been fighting and fighting and fighting. Bassett, however, has a good head on his shoulders, and he has turned and he has honored Trump's administration. So for the guy in that video to say that Bassett was run by Soros, that was my first, right? Now, let's not forget Elon Musk has Asperger's. It is evident. It is obvious. And if you want to know anything about autism, because that is a bridge of autism, you know that outlandish acts and things being said or actions when they can't hold their muscles are very prominent. However, that bilateral gifted brain that he has is amazing.
Yeah.
So do you take a bilateral gifted brain over the complexity that there's so much of the theoretical brain, the emotional side of that brain of his, it does not react. I have a lot of them in the spiritual world. A lot of those types of people. Brains like walking encyclopedias where you just feel like you are the dumbest shit in the world and you're holding a master's degree. And you're like, what the heck? And you can't even understand that there is no emotional circuitry to these people. The emotional circuitry is exuberant on the spectrum. There's either far right, far left, not political wise, just emotional, their emotional side. It is such an honor to know that somebody who is on the spectrum that gifted, and then you look at the people who behind him who are just like that. And the one that comes to mind is Amadeus Wolfgang Mozart. He was exactly Elon Musk. Exactly. He was gifted beyond, knowledgeable, everything. And they poo-pooed him. They put him down. They called him crazy. They called him these names. The same thing they do with Elon, right? They make all these names up because people are cruel. They're bullies. They're filled with ego and judgment, and they're unhealed. So for that in the White House, I just question, was it in the White House? Was it in the Oval Office?
It was in the Oval Office. They said it was in the Oval Office.
Yeah, but I don't know if that guy's a trusted reporter. But I saw that it happened. I just don't know if it happened at the IRS building when Doge team went in, because it happened back in April. And I truly believe, if you think about it, towards the end of April, it was already talked about Elon Musk leaving. He was only there for 130 days. He's only supposed to be there for 130 days, and then he was done.
Right.
And so in front of our eyes, this was all happening. And we were just not paying attention because there was so many other things. And I believe right now, Trump is right. He lost who was president of the United States. He can't have things his way. He is a wealthy person with no emotional level. So he's either throwing temper tantrums and anger, or he's the happiest go lucky laid back person there is. He's almost very conflicted. And that's what happens with Asperger's or that double gifted brain.
Well, I know if any normal person, once they leave like a job or a relationship or work or anything, automatically like they leave on a peaceful note, but inside they hope they don't succeed. And the other people, like the work or organization or people, they hope that they don't succeed. So, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about on Veterans Talk later this week is failmates. Do we have them? How many do you have? How many can you point out on Facebook?
They're not failmates, man. They're life learning lessons. We asked for those catalysts to come in. I can't get over that word failmate, because that means that I've set somebody up. That's a flip. So I'm going to flip that pattern. I'm going to watch that show because I need to flip that pattern.
No,
I need to flip that pattern.
And it's just, look, you said it yourself, MJ. There's a lot of unhealed people in this world.
Amen.
Okay, and when we come up with these, like, crackerjack, shrink, techniques, or things to look at, it's going to be hard to flip. But the truth of the matter is I can confess that there's been a couple of people that has been, here in this organization, MBR, a long time ago, that, at one time I didn't want their success, and I'm sure they didn't want my success, but after
you see how that karma played out? It's karma then.
Yeah.
It becomes an energetic karma.
Right.
So we were talking about those patterns. This is how these patterns happen, right? So if somebody doesn't stop the patterns, I have faith by Father, Mother, God, that Trump is going to do it. Trump he's a narcissist, and he never said anything on tweets about it. And it wasn't about him. It was about those two not being able to control either side of their testosterones and their egos. That's where it was between Bassett and him. But Trump, he wasn't even there.
Right. And and with his quote that he said the other day with Russia and Ukraine, I think it kind of highlights what happened behind the scenes. Yep. Sometimes you just gotta let people fight it out.
Amen. There you go. Was he worked a double? He has tried since he took office. Even before he took office, he was talking with Ukraine and Russia. He was talking with them in December with bringing in peace. And he goes, I'm not paying you money. That's what Ukraine's pissed about, because he cut off Biden's flow. Right. He brought it back. And so then that means we're not standing with Ukraine. That means we're standing with Russia. No, we're not standing for any freaking bloody war. That's what it means. When it's not even our war, why are we paying? And it's not our war. That's where I need people to flip patterns. Has nothing to do. If it hasn't do, and that's Trump, right? Because he perceives that the United States is his. It's his country, and he's going to make sure as a whole. I honor that. Thank you. Thank you for seeing a job. Do you know how many employees I had who just wanted to come in and get a paycheck, but they didn't want to own? Right. That's sickening. How many people?
There's a lot of people like that.
You were just saying MBR, years ago. So that's the thing. Are you going to come in here and take and use and then disappear? No, I'm not liking that. So for the highest good of all, you have to balance. Yes. There's no way 100% of us can balance at the same time. And that sucks. That means somebody has a life learning lesson to go through. And they have already put that. So if it's anger inside or resentment inside, that's what I say before the show. Listen, guys, I don't want to take lead on anything. I'll add to conversations, but I don't want to take lead right now because I myself had a shitty day. So I had to step back and say, okay, how shitty was it? The sun's shining. Deers are roaming right in front of you. Butterflies and hummingbirds. How bad is your life, MJ? I had to do this because it was just like Murphy's Law. If I allowed the first thing this morning get me riled, everything from the cooking to me going to the bathroom with no toilet paper to, it'll escalate. And then I have to calm myself down. This is the actions we talk about with PTSD people. Then you talk yourself back. Okay, you're getting way too angry here. You're going to see red. Why? Why did that aggravate me? So now I have to figure it out. Where is it? Where is it within me that wants to get angry at somebody else's free will? That's on them. And I just push that light right back in love, right back into them, saying, I'm sorry that you wanted to wish me such negative harm. But I am bubbling myself, and I will bubble you as well, so that whatever you're trying to do to me will come back with love and light. And that is who I am. And that is this every day I watch the news. I shouldn't say every day, sorry. Anytime before Beyond the Headlines, the 2 days before I start watching the news, just so that I can have a conversation with everybody that is involved.
Right.
I just don't take myself out. And who was it? I think it was Amber who said to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So self-sufficiency comes from colonialism. When we first came here, the Pilgrims first came here, everybody sowed their own wheats, their own oats, their own meals. I mean, I understand that, and that is great. And here it is. It'll save capitalisms to come back down because the price of everything is so inflated for the elite status, which is how it was ran the last 4 years, that the underprivileged or the poor or the middle class or the middle high class, they can't even afford it. Like nobody can afford things. So the awareness is somebody's grass is going to grow, and maybe now it's going to be done once a month and not every week because things have to be cut. Have you gone to your favorite restaurant and they used to give you 3 spring rolls? Now they only give you 2. You're like, hey,
they closed down Hooters.
See what? The girls couldn't buy Hooters anymore.
You know?
I mean, come on.
I didn't get a vote for that.
Well, you know, I didn't vote for inflation. I didn't vote for that. You know, I didn't. So, but I can't help the free will of the majority. And so instead of fighting, I just tend to mind my own peace. You know, go buy yourself some property and mind your own peace. And that's how I do it. I have to find my own peace because this, as a warrior and as a military person, I think it would devastate me to watch such dis-ease and disorganization by some of these congressmen and mayors and the people out there not following law and order. And on that statement, I would love to see a president come in and say, our Constitution, our preamble, and our Bill of Rights was established in 1776. Things need to change. They need to evolve. They cannot stay that this is the country and it's banded by as we change. I mean, that is almost 200 years old already. More than 200 years old.
Yeah. Army is 250 on 614. So
amen. So I mean, come on. Why are the people of the United States, instead of being angry, why don't you elect for your Congress and your Supreme and everybody else on the freaking votes to say where it says other, you know what? It's time to evolve into the Constitution and to be more melt potting and blending with immigration. There isn't one person here unless you're a native Indian. And even native Indians, you are immigrants of a different place. I hate to tell you that, but you are. I'm second generation. The difference is the respect and honor today does not have the same respect and honor as it did in the last 200 plus years. That's the difference. They have lost the will of the people, and that's a shame. And no constitutional rights unless everybody follows the law. And that means the judges and the Congress and the senators and the mayors and the police departments all abiding by what it is the majority of the people of the democracy of the United States wants. Thank you, Levine, because I watch Liberty, Life, and Levine. There you go. MJ's done. I throw in the towel. Because Joel's not buying it. He's like, you honky tonker.
No. I'm buying it. You know, that's what this whole show is about. You know, kind of showing other people's, you know, points of, you know, views. I sit here and, you know, I give my review kind of like a, you know, comedy thing, but unfortunately it's kind of a doom and gloom. And, you know, you give your, your view, and, you know, Tracer gives her view. So, you know, at least this isn't a show that is all conservative or all liberal democratic. We cut it right in the middle. And that's what a lot of these shows lack, is they'll throw mud or cuss or get upset at one of the party, but the thing is they're both doing the same thing,
Exactly.
From Bill Clinton in the Oval Office to Hillary Clinton in the Oval Office to Bush with Iraq and just everybody's seen that movie about Bush, of all the stuff, like he got out of a DUI and all the different stuff. Watch it. It's a movie. It's It's based on true book. But Republicans have done the same thing. Democrats have done. Both done wrong. That's why I just keep on saying that we need to elect people.
Well, did they do it for selfish reasons, or did they do it like that? That's how, when people do things and we conjure that it was a mistake. Is it really a mistake? Or
it's a mistake because they got caught.
Exactly. So how many things have been undercover since 1950? I mean, they're finding things from 1950.
They found cocaine in the White House. That I didn't say anything more.
Right. I mean, the Constitution just has to change, man.
This is what I don't understand. I hear people tell me today that President Trump doesn't believe in the Constitution. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is what in the Constitution is President Trump not complying to?
Yeah,
he
I don't
put
know
the National Guard in to
protect the people,
to San Diego to protect it. We send our police officers and our firefighters in there, all the time under duress, and we expect resolutions. We're not getting that right now, so you kind of have to send down the National Guard, and they're making a big deal about them federalizing the National Guard. Now, I would love for you guys to kind of break it down to me, Barney style, and explain to me why everybody is in a flipping rage about sending the National Guard, because didn't Biden send in the National Guard when we put up when Ted Cruz locked up the gate with concertina wire, and then Biden went through like the Supreme Court to make them change out the concertina wire? I mean, why is it one good for the goose, but the other one we have a problem with? That's
because
what
they're
I don't.
unhealed and they're angry and they're filled with anger. Have you ever talked to somebody where they just absolutely freaking hate Trump, and you go, what did he do to you? And they just absolutely hate him. I'm like, so for the better good of the country, you would rather talk shit than allow the country to try to have a surviving chance. That's really egoic. That is really egoic. And that I always tell those people, you really, really should consider getting help. If you hate that man that much, that word hate is disgusting. You might as well have crucified Jesus Christ, because the I am consciousness is in all of us. So I'm just saying, the word hate alone is despiteful. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you should never hate anybody.
No.
You shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't.
You know what? They probably hate you back.
And that's on them. I just don't have
it's
the energy or the time for that.
right.
It's just I don't have that
I
kind of
just,
capacity.
you know what? I'm walking away. That's what I do.
Exactly.
Instead of hating, instead of giving an excuse, instead of dealing with it. Okay, man. You know what? You do your thing. I'll do mine, boo.
Yep.
I'm done. I'm out of here. One thing that I think I'm starting to realize as I've woken up is that, and you kind of taught me this, MJ.
Oh, yeah, I did something.
You taught me a lot of stuff, actually. You're not going to get along with everybody.
No.
Because everybody has a different energy. Everybody has a different vibe. Okay? If somebody comes in and like they're a neat freak and you're just like, oh my God, like just totally messed up, and like they're they're withstanding. Sooner or later, that door is going to close, because no matter how much you act, no matter how much you try to fake the funk, vibes do not mix. High energy does not mix with high energy. High energy mixes with low energy. That's why I've been married for so long.
Opposites attract.
Opposites do attract, but I don't think it's opposites attract. It's
balance.
Yeah, you can't have two strong A personalities in a relationship. You have to have one person be very patient. I don't want to say submissive. Be patient and kind of like learn with each other, because I finally figured it out. The secret to marriage is you're going to change as a man, and she's going to change as a wife. And the secret of marriage is just compromising and communicating during that time while you guys are changing, because you both are going to change. It's ultimately a fact. You're going to change. When I first married my wife, she didn't drink coffee. Oh, dear God, now she has to have coffee. She will kill you if you talk to her before she gives her coffee. People change. I never drank coffee. I didn't even drink coffee in the military. Now I'm starting to drink coffee. People change. And that's the secret to marriage.
Well, people grow, and and your relationship has to grow too. Or if it doesn't, then that's when it ends, because you have to grow together and you have to understand each other's journey. And until you get to that point where you can appreciate the person for who they're becoming, then you're not going to get anywhere with that relationship. You're just not, because if you're not willing to accept the change, then that's where it ends.
If somebody's priority is
maturing. Thank
podcasting,
you.
Yeah. If somebody's priority is podcasting, if somebody's priority is skiing, like competitively, or if somebody's priority is, climbing a mountain, the significant other, they have to be okay with that. They have to be okay with that. And if they're not going to be okay with that, then you're going to have a problem. And if you have a problem with it before you even get married, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, take this as a free advice. Don't get married. Just, date each other for at least 3 or 4 years. Don't date each other for 6 years. You start dating somebody for 6 years, get engaged, don't get married. It says in Australia. This is the United States, so don't be doing that. But that's
War of the Roses.
War of the Roses, exactly.
Yeah, that's how we'll end up. I agree with your philosophy 100%. We vibe where we need to, and we get the data that we need to, and there's always a reason for the season that we are with people. So learn as much as you can with the energy that you have or the event, and you move forward. If that person is there for the remainder, you'll know, because you'll constantly help each other, and it'll be a balance. That doesn't mean that when you get to be 60 and have 40 years in going, dude, I just don't think like you anymore. Well, that's because you didn't change together. Somebody escalated and the other one didn't. And then you have to be all right with that, because again, you're not going to dwarf your spouse's free will, right? If I can honest to God say I'm not the same person today that Ozzy married, I'm not, period. And that was hard. That was ridiculously hard for us.
And you kind of find that out in the first 5 years, because not only are you seeing the real them, okay, but you're seeing like how they live too. My wife never farted before, and now just let it rip. People change.
Well, you taught her probably that it was okay.
Oh yeah, I told her it was okay.
Oh, yeah.
I told her I wasn't
probably by her in her face under the blanket.
I did, because it's the absolute truth. If you can't fart in front of somebody, I mean, you can say excuse me, but if you can't fart in front of somebody, that means that you are not comfortable in front of that person. And nobody wants to be formal all the time. We sometimes like to act like little kids.
I just tell everybody my ass is angry. I'm very sorry.
I tell my wife, there I am talking shit again.
You have created a downwind.
Let me show you my dark side.
It's all the way down. No, I agree. I agree. Marriage is a tricky thing. It has to have balance. And if you mature and grow and you are escalating into something that's new, make sure you talk with your spouse and let the spouse understand this is something you would like to do. You have a good spouse, that spouse is going to support you. And the spouse is going to watch you grow. And that's what it's about. And sometimes it is, especially if it gets into an energetic level vibration or a spiritual thing. You know, you don't talk about certain things. I can't imagine the husband and wife having two political stances. That has been probably driving people crazy for the last 12 years. Just that, you know, because they didn't know if it was so strong and hard of the stance. So that means what happened? Really? I'm going to go all the way back to it started with Obama. That's where it started for whatever reason. That's where the big clashes of politics, in my opinion, started clashing. Now, is that a coincidence? That's when social media platforms also started. So there was more talk, there was more crap, you know, that people could get distorted and people could get angry about. I'm thinking, right? Because the fraud, they've been fighting the fraud since the 1950s. So, you know, they're finding all of that, you know, and when you start getting Hollywood elites tied into presidencies, now you really have issues. Yeah, it's a disaster. But it's a disaster that we can all unify as one and fix, because your votes elect your mayors, your governors.
And let's remember the protests that are happening right now in LA and that are going to be happening here in Colorado soon. It has nothing to do with the war. It has everything to do with the Mexican president came out and was like encouraging their community to fight back.
Galvin Newsom, not to take a stance, he's a beautiful, beautiful being, but he doesn't belong in that office. I mean, Galvin Newsom to not allow 2 days, he allowed it. He allowed that shit for 2 days. And then he wants to get angry because Trump called in the National Guard and called in the Marines. Come on. Where's your head?
Well, he probably thought it died down. I mean, look, did they call? I don't know. You tell me. But did they call in the National Guard when the LA riots happened?
No.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah.
Okay. So if they called in the National Guard for the riots that happened in LA, then I mean, why wouldn't they call in the National Guard for something like this?
Well, it's that he went over the governor's head, because the governor those are his troops. And in order to federalize them, the president has to ask the governor to federalize them. If he doesn't ask the governor, he's not supposed to take them. But instead of asking him, he federalized them.
He federalized them, yeah.
Yes.
Well, he probably didn't want the same thing happening, we got protests. You don't have any water in the hydrants, we don't want to burn the place up again. That's probably the reason why.
Well, I mean, he felt like he had to do that for whatever reason. That's why he went over his head. He felt like it was necessary. And so, I'm not there. I'm not seeing what's on the ground. It could very well be necessary from the images you see. I mean, it looks necessary, but I mean, I'm not there. I don't know.
Right.
But if it's anything like Portland was or anything like that, I mean, it has to be shut down. I mean, innocent people are going to get caught up in that, and destroy taxpayer buildings and federal buildings, and destroy, loot, do whatever they feel is they're led to do. So I mean, somebody has to put a stop to it, and there needs to be civilized conversations. If they're supposed to be conversations, they need to be civilized. They need to come to the table. Burning and destroying things is not the way to handle a conversation. That's not how you have a conversation.
But remember who's doing it. They're all immigrants who started it. And I'm sorry, but I did a lot in South and Central America, and that's exactly what they do on a daily basis. Yeah. That is exactly how they are looting. They're invasive. This is like they're living here in their second world thought. Does that make sense?
It does, right? Because on all the protests, like I'm looking to see American flags because you are in America, you know. What am I seeing?
No, they're burning them.
They're burning them and they're carrying the Mexican flag. It's like, why are you guys going to come over here and force something down our throats? Why don't you stay? But then again, I remember that, you know, the United States, they kind of threw is it Zelensky, the Ukraine president? The whole reason why he's in power is because the United States helped a coup on him a long time ago. You know, it seems like the United States really mutters into people's business sometimes. And unfortunately, I think it's kind of backfiring because Trump's trying to build the country inside out by, you know, bringing in manufacturers and stuff. Yeah. And, you know, he doesn't have a plan B established.
I love the CNN reporter who said, we have to have immigrants here, and Trump is taking them out because the Americans are too lazy and they won't pick the fields.
Well, and see, even numbers, they can't prove that. Even numbers, they can't prove.
Oh my God, is that a biased, egoic judgment or what?
I hear that all the time, though. I do. I hear that all the time. You know.
Well, if your mayors and your congressmen of your states had any type of freaking magical idea, they would put the prisoners in the field. Yeah. Come on. They used to crack rocks and make license plates. Why can't we put them in the fields?
Because that's unpolitical now.
So, yeah.
You need a babysitter.
No, that's not unpolitical. That is somebody who tried to claim that it's not politically correct. But you know what? Is it politically correct that they killed somebody or they raped somebody or they killed a dog? Or, I mean, they're in there for a reason. And we're paying for them to have nice. Did you see Diddy's last meal? He had roast beef with potatoes, gravy. He had apple pie for dessert. This was
you make me jealous.
He's eating better than I am in jail.
My dog eat better than I do.
Well, somebody put money on his books. That's what it was.
Oh, there you go. It's all about that. It's all about the canteen.
He's got the commissary. Somebody put money on his books. That's what it is.
I just can't. Anyway, I believe that you should go back to that. I believe that that's what needs to happen. That those types of people then become that. If you think Americans are that lazy, that's sad. If American people are that lazy, that's sad. That is really sad. Yeah.
Well, there was a guy they were interviewing the other day, and he was talking about construction, and he was talking about, you know, laying bricks or whatever the construction project that he was handling and overseeing. And he said the same thing. He said, you're not going to get an American worker in here to do this. He said, the only thing we've been able to hire, or only people we've been able to hire is people that are here illegally because they're day laborers and they'll take what we pay. Even though with construction projects, they have to meet certain thresholds of pay for the job that they're in. They can't just pay them anything. They have to meet the federal standards for that job classification. So they're still being paid a decent wage, even though they're, you know, general labor and daily labor, but they're still doing that. And he said the same thing. He said, I'm not going to get any American workers in here doing this because they just won't.
That's sad. That's the height of laziness. So then goes back to Amber on In the Weeds podcast. Learn to be self-sufficient. Go back to colonialization, and you all need to harvest your own food. Right?
Yeah, you do my job, I'll do yours. Bartering. That's what we kind of need to go back to, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Do you know what was so sad? When I grew up with people always helping people, never asking for money, never asking for anything. And in the last, I want to say 10 years, people won't even help you even as a friend unless, you know,
There's something in it for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're too busy. They're too old. Their back hurts. They have, their wrist hurts, and say, well, I'm just willing to pay anybody anything to help. Oh, okay. I can do it.
Right.
Right. And you're looking at it going, you've been my friend for how long? And yeah. So then you really start going, what happened? What is going on? Really? If I can always help and you can't do that back, what's really going on with that relationship? Then you find those energetic patterns, just like we were talking about. And it's like, there's a reason for a season and my season is over. Right.
Yeah.
And we just move on. Right.
Yep.
Very, very big challenges that face. But I do believe that the Constitution in the preamble and the Bill of Rights, some things need to be changed. They're a little bit outdated, and they're a little bit wonky. And I truly believe that. And a lot of conservative values in today's world, I think, need to have consideration. I'm knowing I'm going to get flack for this. I'm going to watch what I say. I am not in 100% favor. If people are naturally born with an elevated testosterone or an elevated estrogen to produce the point that they don't feel like they belong in that body, and that choice is theirs, how dare the conservative side not see that has to play out? I might understand the cross-gendering with the children. I can't even, my mind can't wrap around that one. But I get it. I get those people who have extreme amounts of the wrong hormone in a physical body. I get those people. I can't remember what they're called, but they are both parts. What are they called?
Oh,
transvestite?
No.
They're born homogenous. Homogenous? No.
It's something.
There's a word for
that.
it. There's a word for it out there. I just can't put it together. But that is a serious thing. And I feel for some of my friends who are gays or lesbians right now. I do. Because I believe that they just went to the extreme to rip it. And I don't think it's right. So I think there needs to be a balance. Do I truly believe transgender men belong in girls' bathrooms? No, I do not. But I do believe in putting up a multi-gender bathroom with one toilet, right? Have your sink outside and have locks for all those bathrooms, and there's only one toilet. It's like having only one toilet in a house of 5 people, right? You have to wait your turn. So the bathroom's for every gender, but you don't have multitude of people going into that same thing. Does that make sense?
It does. It's called a unisex bathroom and it has like one toilet. They have them all the time in Walmart. That's the reason why I've never understood this whole issue. Like they're making kind of like a mountain of a molehill.
Right.
I will tell you that the one thing that I do agree with you on, though, I don't feel that there should be women on sport.
Should be men in
yes, I don't feel that's fair. Okay. I also don't feel that.
So why can't they have transgender sports?
See, that's what I don't understand. They didn't want to have traumatic brain injury in the Paralympics, I don't think.
Well, I'm saying in Paralympics or Special Olympics, they have all types of different competitions for different levels.
Right.
So instead of fighting, why can't you just say, this is what we're going to do to honor you? Right? Instead of ripping it down. I was really angry at Pete Hegseth, what he did with the pride flags and the ships and all that. I was really disappointed. Because just because it's a pride flag on a ship, the thing was transgender. It's not a pride flag.
Mm-hmm.
And so why do that? Why harm? Why I have a hard time with that.
Because there's some people in this world that the way they were brought up, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, they're going to go directly by the Bible and they're going to be against that whole thing. That's exactly what it is, because my dad's against it. And it's just the way
Well, that's
you
an old
brought it
belief
up.
pattern. Like my mom.
Well, yeah.
My mom, she doesn't buy it either. It's an old belief pattern.
Right.
It is truly an old pattern of an old time and of an old era. So
But
as I said,
that's who is voting though, MJ.
well, that's because
Not the young kids. It's the older generation that is voting that wanted this stuff to happen. So it is happening.
So it needs to. I mean, even the monarch changing from King Charles is stepping out, and they're bringing in a new monarch. They're bringing in William and Catherine, who have this huge new evolution of what monarchism, trying to balance with what is happening around the world, but in a conscious way. So I'm not sure why we as a whole don't follow trend with that. And maybe it's, it's a work in progress. Maybe Trump needs to just get what did he name it today? Take order, law and order. Once we have law and order set, then changes can happen. But if we don't even have law and order now, if we try to make changes, it's just going to be a major kerfuffle. And then you have all the people coming out of the woodwork proclaiming all of the crap that happened in the last 4 years. I mean, that there's the behind the headlines again.
Yeah.
So now you have all of these people who are owning up to being paid off, whether they're the music industry, the monarchs, or in the United States. Do you see they're all parallel energies? This whole thing.
The jig is up.
It is. And I think it's Mother Earth and God going, shake their timbers, flood them out. I'm not dealing with the negative, ugly corruptions that is happening. It is ugly. And I truly believe it's going to shake it up. He shook it up with Ice Age. He shook it up with, here we go. Environmental changes. It's not climate change. Our Earth is spinning. It's moving like it always does every 10,000 years. So maybe that's going to happen and people are getting upside down and twisted with the energy. I don't know. But something has to give because it's right.
It's being reported that there are companies in DC that are letting their workers telework Thursday and Friday. And I can tell you that I haven't heard anything, but I guarantee you something's going to come up for this weekend here in Colorado because they keep reporting on TikTok, hey, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And it has nothing to do with like the Ukraine and Russia war. This has to do with ICE. Like these people aren't really they're the way they look at it, they're not fighting the government. They're fighting this ICE group. This ICE
fighting cartel. They're fighting drug cartels.
Yeah, they keep describing ICE as like the Nazis back in Germany. I mean, that's what they're describing here, and I'm like, you guys are kind of making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah, they are. Big time. That's ego and judgment of people who are unhealed. They want their ways. So they're going to do what Elon Musk did, which is counter out and make it angry and stamp our feet and have a little temper tantrum like a 2-year-old. And so that everybody hear me, everybody listen to me, and I can control what everybody sees. And I'm going to write all this. Isn't it funny that his stupid thing about Epstein and Trump was only up? It wasn't up for maybe 6 hours and it was ripped down because he knew it was a lie.
That's right.
He knew that was a lie. He knew that he would get caught with defamation. He knew there was a major lawsuit and Trump would have went after him. He knew it. So again, you got to be careful what you listen to. You got to be careful what you feel is right and wrong. And if you feel that something is wrong, figure out why you feel it's wrong for somebody else's free will. That's what I have to do. That's what I had to do before the show. I had to, because that really, watching the news really does irritate you. I hate to say it, but it made me very irritated. It made me sad. It made me feel like my armor was coming back on. And I needed to go, like I did. I looked at my own husband. I'm like, I need to put my uniform back on, man. I'm like almost here at 60, but I need to put my uniform back on because this isn't right. That's how I felt. I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't feel that way when I'm at a total peace of retirement. I should be at peace. Yeah. I don't know. That's May. Terri, what is your flip? What is your headline tonight? Are you just like, holy shit, you too?
No, I mean, we already talked about it, and it's just, about the conversations about what's going on around the country and, the visual aspects of ICE detaining people and the human factor in all that, and, talking about them taking parents away at kids' graduations and things. I mean, that's a really hard way for kids to see all this happening. I mean, I think it could be done in another way. I don't know what that is, though. I don't have the answer, but I
But
feel
do we
like
know that's true? I mean,
I don't know, and that's the thing is I
Right.
don't know that that's true. I mean,
It's too
that's
much
what I'm
bullshit
reading.
on
That's
What
it.
are
what
we
I'm seeing.
true or what? What are we talking about?
Well,
That
about how that they're canceling all the court cases, and then as soon as somebody comes out of court, then they're arresting them, and then they're also in like California and places like that. They're going to kids' graduations, elementary school graduations, and they're taking parents from there in the middle of a graduation ceremony. And if that's the case, I mean, is there a better way to handle it? Is that the way that you want
that
to
is so
show
inhumane. I'd
this?
be so disappointed with Tom Homan if that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and see, and I don't know, if that's real or reality or not. But I mean, just the visibility, just the optics of that are not good.
Interesting. So evidently that TikTok viral thing that keeps on going around that people's like taking a picture, with the music go
Oh yeah, yes.
I bet you anything that they're targeting that whole situation. Who are they going to take next? It's like a hidden message.
Yeah, but TikTok, look where TikTok's from.
China.
China.
But it's not the China people that are making the TikTok. It's American people.
I
It's
understand,
millennials.
but can you imagine this? So something starts a trend, right? Because that's how it
Right.
starts.
Yeah,
It's
like the Tebowing. I get it.
Trending. So everything trending, and they're getting all these likes, and they're like, "Oh, I gotta do this trend too because I get all these likes." And I don't know what it is with people with the likes, but they want all these likes, so they start the trend like everybody else does. And then you have the same song being played all different ways all the way across the world because somebody started a trend who is probably the upper administration of TikTok in China. So what does that do? It forces people to open up because they're taking something that is now a trend and they're utilizing it for themselves, opening up their information and their data on their song rights. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of
crazy. They're creating their own kind of agenda, their own opinion, and
they're surveying everybody.
Not like a song, but in a video. No, I get what you're saying.
Right. So they put it out as a trend because it's fun. Remember the cold plunge where you had to dump ice, bucket of ice on people?
ALS challenge.
Do you know how rapid that went all the way around?
Yeah.
Because social media platform just started. So everybody got to show everybody their plunge.
And they do that every year. And that one year, they earned a lot of money. They don't earn that money anymore. It's a fad. It's old news or whatever. But they've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah,
that's right. And all these riots, your drug cartel money is pissed off because it is being stuck. It's being held. It's not coming in. And think about it. When you have fentanyl rates dropping and you have drug rates dropping of deaths, then you're closing off your borders and you're blocking it. And they're doing the job that we asked, stop with the drugs in the country. But now it's going to piss people off. Why? Because there's no money.
Right.
So
that's how they were funding shit.
Right. So here we go. Now it's affecting the people's wallets who were making a lot of money, and the drug cartel's not making it. They can't push the product because they can't get it through. It keeps getting blocked. So now you have a whirlwind of riots because our drug cartels in all these other countries, including Canada, are now stopped. So unfortunately, or fortunately, this is the balance, and we have to balance it. What did we ask for? We wanted fentanyl out of here. We wanted these drugs out of here. They were taking the lives of our children, and we didn't want it. And so Now we asked for it. Now, did we ask for the riots? No, but unfortunately, you asked for that not to happen. So people are robbing the poor because they can't make it. How many people lived on the streets in LA in
A
tents?
lot.
And this was before all this rioting, because Governor Newsom and stupid Nancy Pelosi can't get their crap together. It's just that way, you know. So
I don't know if it's so much that they can't get their work crap together, or they cannot work well with the president that's in office, and that's
Well, they don't want to. They
right.
could. They
Exactly.
don't want to. That's the
And that's
problem.
what
Is
I
people
mean.
don't
Like,
want to work together.
that's
They'd
what I
rather
mean.
be in
the
opposition.
Democratic Party knows. I mean, you talk to any Democrat who's normal, where you're normal.
I hear that.
Oh boy, Ozzy, you're getting us canceled,
right?
He's everybody. My husband is going to be on the H Train show Thursday.
Nice.
Yes. And we're going to talk about how spouses handle dealing with those handicap times or those special need times or PTSD times. And we talk about the veterans, but we don't ever talk about how the family has had to handle this. The stress of that alone, wondering if they're going to get a phone call or a flag in their lap. That has to be an extreme pressure in itself. And so I find it's egoic that we're constantly talking about our vets on the front line, and we're not ever honoring our spouses or our families and friends whose hearts were bleeding on this side and praying that you lived and praying for us. So I thought it'd be nice to get a different perspective of what it's like to be with a military member who goes through ins and outs of remissional stages just due to her, and I'm talking about myself, and giving his perspective of how his life had to change on his everyday needs and whether he wanted to or not.
You know, and you bring up a good point. I'm not going to have him on the show, but I'm gonna pre-record because it's my dad. I'm going to ask my dad if he can talk about how he felt, him and my mother, when I was deployed to Iraq, because I remember talking to Captain Bacon, one of officers that I strong respect for him, one of the best commanders I've ever had in my whole military career. And he told me, he was like, when we got ready to send to Iraq, I sent a letter to your mom and dad. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And then I asked my dad, and he's like, I don't remember that. And then he looked into my mom's records, and it did. It was a letter stating that, hey, I want you to know that I'm going to do my best to bring your son back. I want you to know that he is well trained. And I want you to know that he is not fighting for us. He's fighting for you guys so that you guys don't have to be there. Yeah. And I'll do my best to bring you back home, but no guarantees. And he sent that to my family. And I mean, a lot of commanders don't do that.
Right.
Things have definitely changed in the military, and I don't think it's just in the political world. Sometimes I think in the military, military is great. It's just like an engine. It only can work if it has good oil, good people working it. That's why you have good units, and then you have crappy units, and you got units that disactivate. But I honestly think sometimes our leaders are voted on a popularity contest and not their character. And that's what we need in office, is we need somebody that has character. I used to say military. I don't even say military. I'm not going to say his name because there's a guy in Congress right now that's former military, and I don't hear nothing but bad things about him because of his character and stuff. So, but that's what we need in this country. We need character. I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about somebody that's Christian or that went in the military. We need somebody with good character. Transparency.
Somebody with good morals.
Yeah, transparency is good.
Yeah.
But it's how you present those transparencies. Remember, when you present
but if
something,
transparency is what it is in somebody's opinion, it's going to be either be bad or good in their egoic opinion and judgment. So transparency is just the truth. How you handle the truth, you can't handle the truth,
right?
So, but if I mean, that's the problem, because I truly believe this administration has been more transparent than the last one of everything that they're doing.
I think they've been transparent on what they want to be transparent on. They haven't been transparent with everything.
That is a subject to opinion, because if I am not ready for the public to know something about me, I'm not going to tell them.
Right.
I'm not ready. I'm not healed, or all the information is not in. So I'm giving a half truth. And when you give half truths, what does the news media do? They bulldoze you and say, oh, well, you said this and you said this and you said this. Well, I didn't have all the facts. So is it plausible that the reason that is not being transparent, whatever you think is not being transparent, is because there is more information needed before the public gets on their high horse and starts criticizing? Plausible.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you'd rather not comment if you don't have all the facts. So maybe you know something, but you don't know what you feel like you need to know in order to give an opinion or to tell somebody something. I'm
just saying. I know for myself, I had skeletons in my closet. I don't want anybody to know. I didn't. I hid them forever. It was something that I felt at my time in my life that I needed to do. Why? Because of money. Because I was a single mom with 2 kids and I needed money. It's amazing what that will do. It's amazing where you lead those morals and those righteousness into thinking a different wave in order to create that money. But I did it. It was over. And in my opinion, nobody got hurt. Right. So, but I know that if it would ever had come out at the time, I had been blackballed in my family. I've been shamed. I would have been everything. So is it plausible that now I can talk about it? Of course, they're shocked, but I'm like, it was just who I am and what I needed to do at the moment. And, in those countries, it was legal. So, you know what? I didn't do anything wrong by the laws of the country. And that's all I cared about, was following the law. But the laws of the United States are not the same as the country.
Right.
So then there comes the shame, the guilt, the repercussions. And that's the same guilt, again, with PTSD with our vets. That guilt within the heart and the soul. And when you let those skeletons out, they don't come back. Because I look at people now who find out and I'm like, okay. And I laugh about it. And I can't do anything besides laugh. And they're like, you think it's funny? And I'm like, I think you're 20 years too late to judge me. And I go, who the F are you to judge me? I don't know you're Archangel Gabriel or God. So take your judgment, stick it between your toes, and go plant it somewhere. I don't need it. Right. But that's how I am. And I learned that. I had to learn that. I had to, because if not, some of the things that I did and saw within the military or within the fishing industry, in those different countries, I probably would be a depressed individual. I'd probably be anxious. I probably had so much stress, and I'd probably be suicidal at some of it, just because I deeply regret it. But how could I regret something that I didn't have free will over?
Right.
Right? I was in the military. My free will, if I said I'm not doing it, what would have happened? I had to do it.
You would be pushing sand. That's what you'd be doing.
Right.
Knocking those out, being smoked in the hayride.
Exactly. So choices. We all have choices.
Yeah.
It's those choices that we learned that we have to balance to the most positive way instead of making them always negative. So transparency, I understand the judgment of people until it could be a solid, every wall has been sealed to understand, is there anything else that they could say? No, well then release it. Because why bring negative attention? They're already going to try to find negative attention, those who are in the hatred zones. So it doesn't matter what he does positive. He released a bill the other day that was Biden's bill, and we got ridiculed for it. I can't remember what the bill was. I started laughing. It was like last week or so. And I was like, oh my God, but that was Biden's bill, and you're poo-pooing it now. I just don't get it. It's funny to me now. Like, I have to laugh because it's all judgment and ego. When you step back and you can heal that, it is judgment and ego of the United States citizens who you're not doing your job. And if it's angering you, then why did you vote for it? If it's angry, that was the platform. And if there's something that wasn't on the platform that angers you, then write to your congressman, write to the president, write to your senator, write to whoever. Did you write? Or are you just going to be befuddled and you're going to sit here and be angry and resentful and cause a ton of emails and text notifications on people on my phone that I'm going to have to blackball you because I don't want it?
Oh, I wrote, but it got kicked back. Bad email address. So
at least you tried, right? You tried.
Hey, I tell you what, okay? You want to talk about somebody that has urgency? I'll tell you a story. When I used to take veterans to the different Broncos, I didn't know which email was his email. And I knew that it was always going to be at, broncos.com or something like that. Do you know how many emails I sent to, like, J. Elway, John Elway, Elway John? I sent a bunch, like 5 or 6, 7 emails. All of them got kicked back but one. So I have his email, but I didn't get a response. But hey, look, if you really, really want something bad enough, you'll just start writing emails and stuff. Just too bad they got kicked back. But yeah, you're right. You can write. You can go to town.
You do what you can do, and you can always talk to the higher self, and know, and then you can always say it's on them. It's on them. It's not on me. I made my peace. Now it's on them. Right. And who am I to thwart somebody else's opinion of free will? That is their own healing. I just pay no mind. Right. Because I believe that everything will work out the way it's supposed to anyway. Because they forget the man upstairs. Everybody always forgets that man upstairs.
Yeah.
If you didn't learn from the lessons how Trump ironically turned his head in the millisecond,
right?
There was a higher force there, man.
Just remember, most people don't believe in God until they experience a foxhole or a life-changing experience. Just remember that.
That's sad. I blame the parents.
The upbringing, I'm telling you.
It is always upbringing. It's always the ancestral line. And that's why I said with PTSD people, if you're going to the same person and it's been years and nothing's changing, then there's some other compounding thing from inner child or past life trauma that is added to it. Find it out. I promise you. And when that happens, a lot of things start becoming very clear. It's emotional, it's hard, it's gut-wrenching, it's heart-filled. But in the long run, you'll feel so much better. Take it from a person who went through it. I had to go through it. I had to heal me. And that's what it's about, loving you, loving all of you.
Well, everybody, we're getting close. Before we head out, I want to tell everybody that if you haven't catch MJ's show on Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you're missing out. She has helped me a lot. I see a shrink every week or whatever, and then I have I call it a little extra butter. I have MJ and me and her talking stuff on Mondays, and if I have a really raggedy week or whatever, I'll call her, and talk to her. So really helps out. Look for a battle buddy. Look for a mentor. If you can't find a shrink, something is better than nothing. Also, Trace Surrounds, she's going to have her show tomorrow. At least I believe you are. You're not taking a radio day tomorrow,
I
right?
hope so. I got to find me a guest.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, you can interview me if you can't find anybody, but I'm sure we'll find somebody. So you want to check out her show every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
And she brings in some great artists, guests, and she brings up a lot of good point of view. So make sure you check it out. We have changed the H Train show from Friday to Thursday, and this Thursday we're gonna have MJ's husband on, and I'm gonna try to get a recorded thing of my father, because MJ brings up a good point. Every day you hear "Thank you for your service, thank you for the service," but the family and the supporters, they don't get a lot of recognition. And remember, it's Army regulation that after their husband's hurt or killed, they have 180 days to get off garrison property. They kick you out. So keep in mind that these families, they're giving up a lot more than just their husband when they go off to war, or when they go off to a deployment, when they go off to the border of Mexico.
That's right.
We got to think about that. There's going to be people that die with this thing.
Yes.
So
Die.
I think this has been a really great show, everybody. I really think.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Bring up a lot of good points.
Yeah, they have. I loved it. I love the points. I love to balance, and I love to hear the retrospects of other people, who, and it's all in how we hear the news. It's all in how we interpret the news. Mm-hmm. So remember that. So if you're going to get angry and you're going to look at your TV, remember there's always a flip side. So figure it out, because that anger is inside of you for whatever reason.
True. So, yeah, you have a
I
choice.
love it. Absolutely.
God is good and people are crazy.
Woo, I love that song. That's another good song.
It is.
All right. Well, this has been Beyond the Headlines. I am MJ, and over here is Terri, and that is H Train. And we appreciate everybody who stopped by tonight, and we value your opinion, and we thank you for your comments as we dissected as the world turns around us, and from every angle it sounded. Tonight was really, really nice. So thank you. Have a good evening, and we'll be back here next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. See you later.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.